It is one of the most worshipped cars in the world, a Japanese legend with a near-mythical reputation. At its heart beats an engine so massively overbuilt that tuners discovered it could be pushed to power figures that should have torn it apart, turning it into the holy grail of the modified car world. A single bright orange example driven by a beloved movie star made it famous to hundreds of millions of people and was later sold for over $500,000. It is the eternal rival of the mighty Skyline GT-R and one of the most sought-after cars of its entire era. This is the story of the Toyota Supra, the JDM God. The Supra did not begin as a legend. Its roots were surprisingly humble. In the late 1970s, Toyota took its popular Celica sports coupe and stretched it, slotting in a larger six-cylinder engine to create a more grown-up, more luxurious Grand Tourer. For its first few generations, the Supra was a comfortable, capable cruiser, quick and stylish, but hardly the stuff of legend. It was a good car, not yet a great one. But through the 1980s, with each new version, the Supra grew faster, sharper, and more serious. Toyota was steadily building its credibility, learning, refining, and inching ever closer to something truly special. And then, in 1993, everything changed. Toyota unleashed the fourth-generation Supra, and it would become an icon. The fourth-generation Supra, known to enthusiasts by its code, the A80, was a quantum leap. Gone was the soft Grand Tourer. In its place stood a purposeful, muscular sports car with sweeping curves and, on the top models, a dramatic towering rear wing that became its signature. It looked fast, standing still. Toyota had thrown everything it had at this car, determined to build a world-class machine that could humble the very best from Europe. The engineering was obsessive and expensive, so expensive that Toyota reportedly lost money on every single one it sold, building the Supra not for profit, but for pure pride and prestige. It was a statement car, the flagship that showed exactly what Toyota could do. But the truly legendary part of the A80 was hidden beneath the bonnet. That heart was an engine that would become one of the most famous in all of automotive history, the 2JAZ GTE. On paper, it was a 3-liter, twin-turbocharged straight-six, but its real genius lay in how it was built. Toyota engineered the 2JZ with an enormously strong cast-iron block and incredibly robust internal components, far stronger than the car's standard power output could ever require. In normal use, this over-engineering seemed almost pointless. The engine was smooth, refined, and reliable, producing solid but not earth-shattering power. Toyota had built a tank of an engine for what was, in standard form, a fast but perfectly civilized sports car. It seemed like overkill. But that very overkill was about to make the 2JZ a global legend because of what happened when people started to modify it. When tuners got their hands on the 2JZ, they made an astonishing discovery. That massively overbuilt engine could swallow huge amounts of extra boost and power without breaking a sweat. While most engines would grenade themselves long before, the 2JZ, on its standard internal components, could reliably be pushed past 600, 800, even 1,000 horsepower. It was almost unkillable. Word spread like wildfire through the tuning world, and the 2JZ became the undisputed holy grail, the engine that everyone wanted. An entire culture grew up around it. People began ripping the 2JZ out of Supras and swapping it into everything imaginable, from other sports cars to muscle cars to pickup trucks. The Supra's engine had become a legend entirely in its own right, and the car it came in was about to be launched into the stratosphere by Hollywood. In 2001, a film about street racing arrived that would change car culture forever, The Fast and the Furious. And its hero car, driven by the beloved actor Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor, was a bright orange Toyota Supra. In the film, it was built into a giant killer, famously described as a 10-second car, capable of humbling even an exotic Ferrari. For an entire generation around the world, this orange Supra was their first electrifying introduction to the car. It became one of the most recognizable movie cars ever made. The Supra was no longer just an enthusiast's secret. It was a global pop culture superstar. And the emotional bond grew even deeper after Paul Walker's tragic death in 2013, cementing the orange Supra forever as one of the most beloved cars in all of cinema history. But the Supra never stood alone. It existed in the shadow of and in eternal battle with one great rival, the Nissan Skyline GT-R, the car they called Godzilla. These two machines defined the golden age of Japanese performance, and the argument between their fans has raged for decades. The GT-R was the technological monster, all-wheel drive, computer-controlled, a precision weapon built to dominate the racetrack. The Supra was its opposite number, rear-wheel drive, powered by that indestructible 2JZ, the tuner's dream and the drifter's delight. Skyline, or Supra. Godzilla, or the God. It became the defining rivalry of JDM culture, two different philosophies of how to build the perfect Japanese performance car, each with millions of devoted followers who would defend their champion to the very death. And yet, for all its greatness, the Supra's reign came to an end. By the early 2000s, ever-tightening emissions regulations and the sheer cost of the car were closing in. In 2002, after nearly a decade, Toyota quietly ended production of the legendary A80 Supra. There would be no immediate replacement. One of the greatest performance cars Japan had ever produced was simply discontinued, and the storied Supra name was put to sleep. For nearly 2 decades, there would be no new Supra at all. But far from fading away, the legend of the fourth-generation car only grew in its absence. As the years passed and the cars became ever rarer, demand for them began to climb, slowly at first, and then explosively. What followed was a financial phenomenon. The MK4 Supra, especially the twin-turbo version with the highly desirable 6-speed manual gearbox, transformed from a used sports car into a blue-chip collector's icon. Prices that had once been reasonable began to soar into the stratosphere. Pristine, low-mileage examples started selling for well over $100,000, and the very best for far more. And the ultimate prize? The actual orange Supra driven by Paul Walker in the very first Fast and the Furious film. In 2021, that single car sold at auction for a staggering $550,000. The humble Grand Tourer, the car Toyota once lost money on, had become one of the most valuable Japanese cars on the entire planet. The legend was now worth a fortune. With demand at fever pitch, Toyota finally did the inevitable. In 2019, after 17 long years, it brought the Supra name back from the dead. But the new car, the A90, was deeply controversial. To build it, Toyota had partnered with the German company BMW, sharing engineering and using a BMW-sourced engine. To many die-hard fans, it just wasn't the same. A Supra without a Toyota engine, without the legendary 2JZ, felt, to the purists, almost like a betrayal. The new Supra was, by every objective measure, a brilliant sports car. But it could never quite escape the colossal shadow of its ancestor. The fourth-generation car had become so beloved, so deeply mythologized, that perhaps no successor could ever truly live up to it. And that is the real measure of the Supra's greatness. It was a car so good, so over-engineered and so beloved that it outgrew its own maker, its engine becoming a legend, its image immortalized by Hollywood, and its value soaring beyond anyone's wildest dreams. The Toyota Supra is proof that true greatness isn't always about being the most powerful or the most advanced. Sometimes it's about heart, over-engineering, and a little bit of movie magic. From a humble Celica offshoot to a $500,000 icon, the Supra has earned its place in the pantheon of all-time greats. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to Automotive Stories for more legends from the world of cars. And tell me in the comments, in the ultimate JDM showdown, which one wins, the Supra or the Skyline GT-R? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.